Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding Podcast, and it's been a minute since I've been on talking to you guys. It's been a couple weeks. It's been busy with work, life, and a lot going on since I've been on, since I've been able to get on. So let's dive into it. A lot of new news, but I want to be able to talk a little bit about what's going on in training camp and some other news with the Panthers. And so, again, a lot to go into. So let's do it. So the Panthers finally are in pads. This is when I start paying attention a little bit. Uh, I'm not, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, all that, like all that stuff's well and good, but you don't really know how players going to play until you put the pads on. And we'll go into a little bit, um, but let's get started. Okay, so some roster moves. So we've got some injuries. So you have Derek Brown. So Derek Brown, Dave Canales said he was out the other day because of oblique soreness, and this makes sense, right? You had a player that hasn't played for over a year. They had that meniscus tear, got repaired, doing rehab, and now you're getting back into football shape. You got the pads on. You're going 100% on 1v1s and 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. You got to get back into football shape. And so a little bit of oblique soreness, some core soreness is normal. I'm not too worried about it. It was something that Dave said that they really didn't feel like they needed to do any imaging for. Just let the guy rest. No need to rush it. And once he starts feeling better, have him come back. So you have Derek Brown out, and then Dave Canales also mentioned Chandler Savala. So he said that Chandler Savala had a patellar injury, and I'm not sure what if it was a strain or if it was a small low grade tear. And the reason why I say that is because Dave mentioned how they were thankful that it wasn't a full rupture. And when someone says that to me, that tells me that there's a tear. It's just not a full rupture. If it was just a strain, I would assume he would say, "Oh, he tweaked his knee. He's going to be day to day and see and wait till he, he's going to rehab a little bit and get better." But for him to say it's week to week, I'm assuming the trainer's going to reevaluate him every week. But it sounds to me like it's a small low grade tear because he mentioned again that it wasn't a full rupture. So that can take 4 weeks. It could take anywhere from honestly 2 to 6 weeks. 2 weeks is pretty fast, but 4 weeks is pretty average with a small low grade tear. It could take up to 6 weeks too. So he's not a starter, obviously, but he was having a great camp, according to Dave Canales. And he's someone that did really stepped up and was playing better as the season got on compared to whenever he was first drafted here in the third round. So Jalen Zavala is really good depth. And then a couple other players. You have Mike Jackson. Canales saying that he had a toe sprain. They did imaging for this, I believe, MRI and X-ray, and everything looked clear. So no soft tissue damage or structural damage. So it just sounds like he kind of tweaked it and give him some rest. He should be out there. We'll see if he's out there tomorrow during FanFest, or if you guys are watching it today during FanFest. So, but Mike Jackson's had a couple days off yesterday and the day before. Then you also have Pat Jones. He had an upper respiratory illness where he had a hard time sleeping the night before and then came to practice, couldn't really get a full breath in, and they just thought it'd be smart just to let him rest, let him his body recover, and then have him come out Friday. So those are the injury updates. Then also we got into some that are a couple guys that are available now. So you have nose tackle Bobby Brown III. So this is really important. So they were on the non-football injury list, the NFI list, and I'm not sure. I believe it's been a while since I was able to read what they put out there. I tried to double check to see what the injury was. My memory is telling me that it's hamstring, but I don't remember. But it was pretty much. They said it was a mild injury, nothing anything to be really concerned about. But he was out there Wednesday practicing full pads, as you can see here. And this is a guy that is going to be very important on our defense. As you all remember last year, our defensive line was piss poor. You have Derek Brown out, you have Shy Tuttle at nose tackle, a lot of injuries, and even the players that we had were even top level, they were average, and then depth was poor. And in the 3-4, you need a good nose tackle to eat up space and take on a couple of blockers, and that allows your linebackers, specifically your outside linebackers, to come off the edge and be able to, uh, got not have a blocker go up to the next level and take them out of the play. So nose tackle is extremely important. I thought it was one of the most important signings, if not the most important signing that the defense that Dan and Brant needed this offseason, because nose tackle is where you need to start. So having him back on the practice field, getting reps is a good sign. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I know he's had a couple of injuries in the past with the Rams, one of them being the shoulder. So hopefully he can stay healthy, get the reps that he needs, so that way he's ready week 1. The other player off the NFI list is Sam Martin, the punter. So I'm not too familiar with Sam Martin. I do remember when we first signed him this offseason, I looked him into a little bit. PFF grades, everything seemed to average. Hopefully, we don't really need to use him with our offense. Hopefully, our offense, which we'll dive into a little bit, is going to be continue to improve. But Sam Martin is out there, so I believe his was a hamstring as well. I'm not 100% sure, um, but it's good again to have him out there, so they're not using the jugs machine out there. Now they can actually have the punter um, go out there and kick, and they can do some special teams drills. Right. Okay, so yesterday there was a couple of uh, press conferences, one of them being Taylor Moton. So Timo, he was kind of emotional during his press conference. They were asking him, "Are you in contract talks? What's going on? Do you feel like this is your last year?" And to me, the writing is on the wall that this is probably going to be his last year, unless they're able to somehow make it work and make it make sense for him and the Panthers, because Timo is a top tier right tackle. Since we drafted him, he's been nothing but consistent. He's a hell of a player, a better person, and this is just someone that you want to keep on the football team. But it's hard whenever you've paid other players on the offensive line a lot of money, Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. So, and we're about to pay him this season $29.5 million. He has the biggest cap hit, and I think if they really wanted to extend him, they would have spread that out already and extended him. But to me, the writing is on the wall based on what I'm seeing in the press conference, and then we'll talk about Brantellis in a minute. But I really hope this isn't his last year. Solid player. I really hope that he has a great season. The offensive line has a great season. The Panthers have a great season, not just for us as fans, but for him. He's been nothing but amazing for us. So again, um, I really think this could be his last year. Now, after Timo, Brant Tillis had a press conference, and so Brant Tillis, they're asking him about Timo and how would they like to extend him, and obviously, again, it has to make sense from the Panthers' perspective and Timo's perspective. Again, I mentioned before, Robert Hunt, we're paying top tier money. Damian Lewis, we're paying top tier money. You have Icky's contract coming up that we'll talk about in just a second. That's a lot of money to put into the offensive line. And granted, the offensive line is extremely important, but I think they're going to look to probably either the draft and or a younger right tackle, because that offense line is rather young. You have Taylor Moton. I'm not sure how old he is. I believe he's in his 30s, but he still has a decent amount of tread on the tires, because right tackle you can play till you're like late 30s. Uh, and he really hasn't had any injuries. So um, I know that he wants to be here. I know the Panthers want him to be here, but it would have to be a huge, significant discount for him to stay, in my opinion. I think he's probably going to ask for low 20s, and I think the Panthers would give him like maybe 15. But that's a lot of money to put into the offensive line. But going into Icky, they did ask about Icky. And were there any and not just for Icky, but just in general, is there any other contracts that are a priority? And he mentioned how basically, and it makes sense what he said. So he mentioned how Icky is still a rising player as far as how he's developing, right? You had him his rookie year where he did extremely well. And then he had that sophomore slump where even I believe he admitted that he was getting cocky. He didn't feel like he didn't really put that much into it. That it seemed like his rookie year was pretty smooth transition from college to pro. And then he just played horribly a second year. Third year, got humble, and he started playing a lot better, specifically at pass protection. And then last year, he was getting even better. But still, I think he really made a big jump from the year 3 to 4. I still think pass protection is something he struggles at. Run blocking is obviously his strong suit, but again, it makes sense because Brant Tillis and the Panthers aren't going to want to pay Icky top left tackle money because top left tackle money it's a lot, 30 plus million, and you're not going to pay Icky based on what he's shown. And to me, I think he is maybe top 10. I think you could put him around like 10 to 15, to be honest. You're not going to pay someone like that top left tackle money. So, and obviously Icky and his camp is going to want that. So it makes sense from the Panthers and Icky's side to play out this year because they've exercised the 5th year option. So we're good there. But Icky's going to want to make that next step because if he can make that next step and really elevate his play and establish himself as a top tier left tackle, then you have to pay him, right? You have to pay him. So I think that's something that you're not going to see this season is Icky, just like how kind of how Chuba's contract last year they did it during the season. I don't think you'll see that for Icky. I think you'll see that if Icky does really well, I think that will be a top priority next offseason. So it doesn't sound like they're in a dire need to go into and try to resign Icky. It just makes sense both sides for them to wait it out, and then after the season, then come back to the negotiation table and talk about numbers. Okay, so before I talk about training camp and give my opinions, obviously I want to kind of preface my comments. There's obviously no fans that are allowed to go to training camp this year because of the construction, and they couldn't find a place for them to practice for camp. They could have, they didn't, and I can complain about it, and I have my feelings about it, but it is what it is, right? I love the Panthers. A lot of us love the Panthers. The more eyes that you have on the football team, the more content that's going to be out there, the more discussion that's going to be brought up, the more that someone's going to have an opinion about what they saw, the different angles people are going to be able to videotape practice. And I get that during training camp last year and the year before, they had security out there making sure people that were not videotaping. And I get it. I understand that part. And it happened, right? But as a podcaster, as a fan that really wants to deep dive into the team, you want that because it gives you more content, uh, more things to look at to really formulate and give a strong opinion about a player, a play, a group, uh, uh, whatever, right? But whenever you have, and you have the beat writers out there, the team, people covering the Panthers, they do a great job. Personally, I like Mike Kay and his partner Alex. I like Chris from Charlotte Vibe. I like Sheena Quick. I like Vashti. I like Joe Person. Those are the people that I follow and I listen to, and I really take to heart what they say, because they've shown that they're trustworthy and they give really good information about what's going on in the field. That's only 5 or 6 people. I know there's a little bit more, but there's only so many people that can report, and how much can they report about the team? Are they even allowed to report during I know they're not allowed to videotape during 11 on 11 drills, but can they report like the play? What kind of play was it? I think I've seen one list out there on Twitter about Bryce Young during this drive. These were the 3 or 4 plays, and it was Andy Dalton, and these 3 or 4 plays. I haven't seen it that much, and I don't know how many of those 11 on 11 drills they're doing, how many drives they're doing, but that's the stuff that I'm looking for, not just what type of plays they're doing during training camp, but how did the offensive line look? Who got beat? Who didn't? How did the receivers look? Did they get off the line quick? Were they able to create separation? How did Bryce read the play? Was he able to dissect the play well? Was he able to execute and throw the ball well? Was it a running play? Or was the offensive line able to get to the next level and push? Yeah, I want to know all this stuff because that helps formulate my opinion, right? And when you don't have that, and when you have limited uh, stuff to go to, and you're looking at highlight reels, you can't really. I'm going to preface and wait for to really give a strong opinion about something. Everything I talk about is going to be based on what I hear. So when preseason comes, and especially week 1, then I'm going to be really, really good, be able to give you an opinion on it. And then talking about preseason, I think that's something that Dave Canales has to learn from last year. They need to get their feet wet, and I think he's kind of alluded to that during this press conferences, allowing his team to get some hits in, play a little football. I think that's something that he really had to learn as a rookie head coach because it took us a while to get our feet wet and get our feet on the ground. So I do think that Dave will allow the starters to play 1, 2, 3 drives. Hopefully 2 drives, second week 3 drives, and then the last week a drive to really get the momentum going. So that way, week 1, you hit the ground running going versus trying to figure it out. So I do hope to see that, and they will be playing next week, next Friday. I'm excited to watch it. Okay, so let's talk about some things that are going on in training camp. Bryce Young. Okay, so Bryce looks notice again. This is all from what I'm hearing from reports. Bryce Young looks noticeably more confident this offseason compared to last year. He's smiling more. He's showing more of his personality, and even stood up for himself after taking a nice little shot from Nick Scott whenever he went into the end zone. And that's the kind of fire that I want to see out of Bryce, out of my quarterback. He's throwing the ball well from the pocket and on the move. According to Canales, Bryce growth is really allowing the team to fully open up the playbook, and they've been adding a few wrinkles tailored to his strengths, what he likes, especially in my opinion, how effective he could be outside the pocket. And if he can continue the form he showed late last season, and then now you add all these other weapons and the strength of this wide receiver group, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And if the defense can just be average, this, not just Bryce, but this team is going to make a big leap this season, in my opinion. And I'll flat out say it. I think the floor for wins is 7. Anything below 7 is a failing season. I think the ceiling can be 11. So to me, my expectations is for wins and losses, either 7 to 11 wins, in my opinion. But the key question is whether, to me, can he sustain that level of play, like how he played the back half of last season? Can he sustain that for a full season and prove that he's a quarterback who can win games, that he can take over a game or help you win a game, right? And then if he can do that, he's established himself as a franchise quarterback. Because let's be honest, I'm, I'm gonna be honest for a second. I believe in Bryce Young. I think a lot of Panther fans believe in Bryce Young. There were some Bryce haters out there. They're quiet now. I believe in Bryce Young, but I also believe in being honest. He played half the season good last year. And this isn't a shot at all, but he has to prove he can do it for a full season. He has to do it for a full season. I get there's going to be maybe a game or so, you know, bad, everybody has a bad game here and there, but he has to show throughout the whole season, can he play well like he did back half of last season? If he can, I'm really excited about where this team is going to be headed. I'm really, really excited to see this where this team is going to be headed. Now, uh, oops. Next, there we go. Okay, so Hunter Renfro and mentioned that this is the strongest wide receiver group that he's seen since he's been in the NFL, and I feel like all Panther fans can see that right now. That it's just there's a feeling that there's about this offense right now. Like the depth of this group is significantly better, not just from 2 seasons ago, but even last season. It's significantly better. But what I like about this group as well is before training camp, like they all got together. They went to this like a lake trip or boys trip or wide receiver offense trip or whatever. And I just think that's cool because they're bonding. They're going to be, not just teammates, but friends. And when you have players and teammates that can get together and they love being around each other, they're gonna fight and play for one another, and they're gonna take constructive criticism better. They're going to take, if you're slacking off, they're gonna, someone a teammate coming up to you and pretty much saying, you know, straighten the hell up, get up, let's go, like let's play. You need to play better, like being tough like that. And so I love that these guys have gotten together and they're just formulating a good friendship and bond, which I think will really help on the practice field, and that I think will translate to games. So I did like that. Now, what I saw a couple days ago during team drills or during training camp, there's a lot of running drills, a lot of running back drills, and I'm loving this because if you remember last season, Dave Canales mentioned how he wants to be able to run the ball more, like he wants to be stubborn with the ball. And then he got kind of a lot of flack on Twitter about, well, you're not running the ball. And there's a times where that was true, but dude, our defense was the worst in the league. We were down 85-90% of the time that whole season, multiple possessions. You can't run the football like that. And then also, you had Miles Sanders, who was your backup, and then you had Chuba Hubbard that got injured for a week or two. So when you add all that together, you can't really run the football the way you want to. But this season, if the defense can just be average, be 20 or under, like if you can be 18, 19, 20, I'll be happy. I'm not asking for a top 5 defense. I'll take one, but I don't need a top 5 defense. Okay. But if the defense can keep us in games, our offensive line is a top tier offensive line. To me, it's top 5, top 6, top 7. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to run the ball a lot this season. That you have 2,000-yard rushers that run physical. They can catch outside of the backfield. They can pass block. Like they're legit full top tier running backs. There's no reason why you shouldn't be feeding them. This shouldn't be a 1-2 punch. That's going to help Bryce too. That's going to help the defense stay off the field. So I do think you'll see a lot this season with Dave Canales, the Panthers running the ball a lot more than you're used to from last season. So and I want to see that. I want to see them run the ball down their throats and just be a physical team. That's what Dave Canales wants us to be. He wants us to be a physical team. And that's what the Panthers have always been. They've always been a physical team. So I like this. Now let's talk about some of the receivers here. So you got T Mac. So T Mac, and I love that Dave Canales said this. I really like that Dave Canales is very straightforward. He's one of the most straightforward coaches that we've ever had, to be honest with you. And a reporter asked him, like, he's been playing pretty well during training camp. He's like, yeah, he's been playing well. He's also had really bad plays too. He's had really bad plays. So I love that he's saying that to keep him humble. But T Mac, from all that I'm hearing reported wise, he is making spectacular catch after spectacular catch, and he is consistent, which matches how he was viewed as a prospect this past season, during the offseason before we drafted him, with elite hands. He's always been known for his elite hands. He's obviously a tall 6'4", 6'5" receiver. He has good length. He has good speed. He runs a 4.5. He had a knack, and I kind of thought the same thing. I didn't see that much separation on tape, but if you just give me a little bit of separation, like look at this placement on this throw, right? That's all the separation you need. You don't need that much separation. Now, I think he will develop and get better with that. I think he will learn to use his body with leverage and be able to create separation. And Dave Canales also mentioned that he kind of struggled with uh, corners playing physical with him, with JC Horn playing against him and Mike Jack. They were playing very physical. And he said that, and Dave Canales mentioned that he struggled a little bit with the physicality, but he adapted to it. And again, I'm sure he still has more to learn and develop as a wide receiver in that regard, but he's learning from being able to, okay, this is how they're playing against me, and so now I'm going to change my game or how I run this route or how I use my leverage to be able to create separation, and they're making him better. So, like Dave Canal said, is we make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. They make each other. So I like what I'm seeing out of T Mac. It sounds like XL and T Mac have been getting a lot of the uh, reps and balls thrown to them. I mean, it's been evenly distributed. Other players are getting the ball too, but I'm hearing nothing but good things between these two. But then talking about XL has been on the jugs machine since this whole offseason. XL has been training so hard this offseason. I think he's personally been listening to a lot of podcasters and people on Twitter about, oh man, like and XL did well last season. Like he could have done better. If he caught two other passes, that Philly game, and there's another game that if he caught it, I think we'd have won too. If he caught those two passes, just those two, we would have completely different conversation about XL. But because those are big drops, they're big drops. No exception. He should have caught those. Then he gets a lot of flack. And he did. He could definitely improve catching, but he was essentially a second round wide receiver, guys. We moved up in the from pick 33 to 32 and got him in the 32nd overall pick to get the fifth year option. But you saw him develop last season with his route running, his separation. I mean, he has improved significantly with his route running. Now, if he can put it together and catch the ball consistently, dude, this I'm telling you, man, T Mac and him are going to be 1A, 1B. They're going to be really nasty to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but defenses, corners, secondary is going to have a hard time with these guys together on the football field. And then we're about to talk about another guy in a second. You add this guy on the field, there's so much potential at this wide receiver group. It's I'm telling you, I'm excited about it. Other fans are excited about it. There's a lot of potential. We just have to see it on the field. And again, XL has been putting in the work. He's on the jugs machine every day after practice. He was doing it even before training camp. He looks even stronger and faster now. So if XL can stay healthy and he can get those catches consistently, dude, it's going to be a fun wide receiver A and B to watch. It is. Now, you add this guy now. Hunter Renfrow is the MVP of training camp right now. The MVP. When we first picked up Hunter Renfrow, a lot of people were like, I don't want him on my team. And for me, I'm like, Why would you not want this guy on your team if he can be the Hunter Renfro that he was for the Raiders? The dude is a route running technician, and from what I'm hearing through reports and Dave Canales, is that he is the Hunter Renfro, the 2021 Hunter Renfro. I, to me, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. Again, this is my opinion, bro. He might be wide receiver 4 right now, minimum, minimum. He's about to take a lot of reps away from Thielen and Coker. He's about to. I think he's ahead of Coker. I don't think he's ahead of Thielen yet because Thielen and Bryce have that connection. But if he can continue to play, I mean, this is just for how it is right now. If he can continue to play the way in practice, the way he's practicing at camp right now, he's wide receiver 4. He's making the team, and they may take 7 wide receivers. But he also was fielding punts. You had Trevor Etienne that was fielding punts. There was another player, David Moore, I know has been fielding punts, but David Moore, his seat is a little hot right now. His seat's a little hot. So if Trevor Etienne or Hunter Renfro, and I can't remember the other player that was fielding punts with him that day, but if one of those guys can step up, and David Moore isn't because David Moore was maybe average at fielding punts last season. He didn't blow me away. He wasn't making crazy plays. Oh, it was Jimmy Horn. That's what I'm thinking of. It's Jimmy Horn. David Moore might be out of a job. Now, I do think his strong ties to Canales, because Canales loves him. He came to Carolina because he loves Dave Canales. I think at the very, very least, if he doesn't make the initial 53, he will be on the practice squad and could be elevated depending on the injury. I want him on the team. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if he'll make the initial 53. And Hunter Renfro is making it a lot harder for him to make it. This guy has been creating 5-yard separation, bro. He has been cooking people. Before I go into JT Sanders, the other receiver is Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn has been cooking people too. Jimmy Horn, for a 6th-round pick, has looked phenomenal, and he is looking like a steal. You can tell he's the fastest player on the field. If Jimmy Horn can continue to develop the way he's playing right now, again, based on what I am hearing reports, the highlights, I'm not watching him run every route and see uh, how every rep looks. But if he can play like that and make the special teams, David Moore's off the team, bro. He's not on the initial 53. He's not making it. There's no need for him. He'll be on the practice squad. But I'm excited about Jimmy Horn too. That's who Jimmy Horn. Obviously, they're starters, right? Like I'm excited to see all the starters get some reps in preseason. But Jimmy Horn is someone I'm really excited about watching in preseason. I really think they're going to give him a good amount of reps and some looks during preseason. I'm excited to see how he does with special teams. But going to JT Sanders. So JT Sanders, this tight end group, I think it's again like there's a lot of upside here. There's a lot of potential. It just can't develop, and I think it will. So JT Sanders, he has looked a lot leaner. Believe he's lost like 20, 25 pounds. I think they said that he was like 275, 280 when he was drafted, and now he's like 257, 260. So he looks a lot leaner, a lot stronger. He did a little bit different conditioning this offseason. He hired a private chef. He ate better, which is nutrition is so important. It's not just going out there and lifting weights and doing the cardio. You got it. Nutrition is a big part of it. Like taking care of your body is a big one. And that's where I feel like every rookie needs to take a vet that takes care of their body and emulate that. But he has looked, from what I have heard and read, just looks so much faster. Now, with the decreased weight, does that take away some of his strength and does that hurt his pass blocking? Because we know especially early in the season last year. He was a rookie. This is his second year, but his rookie season, he really struggled at pass blocking, especially the first several games. He improved throughout the season. His uh, his him as a receiving threat at tight end was phenomenal until he got his neck injury. Once he got his neck injury, he was okay after that. He didn't really return to, in my opinion, the same level as he was playing before the injury. And lingering neck injuries can do that for sure. So I'm excited about seeing him. Hoping Tommy Trimble can come back. I know he's still on the pup list with the back surgery that he had. Hopefully, he's able to come back a little bit before camp. Hopefully, he can get in with a preseason game or two. But him and then Mitchell Evans, some of the clips I've been seeing of Mitchell Evans, the dude looks fast and physical. Like he looks like a complete tight end. Now, I know he dropped, I think we got him in the 5th round, but I believe he was projected as a day 2 pick, but he's had an injury. So if he can stay healthy, dude, there this whole offense is young, bro. It's they're young and they're super talented and I think they're all ascending together. So I'm excited to see this group. I really am. But I am excited to see JT Sanders hopefully get some looks this preseason as well, and hopefully he can look the way he did, if not better, how he played the first half of the season last year. Now, one of the main competitions that I'm looking at during training camp is the center position, and I'll kind of go over some other things about this in a second. But Austin Corbett versus Cade Mays. Now, before the training camp happened, in my opinion, I thought Cade Mays should have started because how he stepped into that role and how he dominated that last season. Like when he came in, and especially against that Giants game in Germany, and how he really neutralized Dexter Lawrence, top tier tackle in the league, and how just consistent he played and how he kept the pocket, especially the front, obviously keeping it clean for Bryce Young all season. To me, I felt like he should have started last season. He should have, in my opinion, he should have. Now, I've heard Austin Corbett's have been having a hell of a camp and how he's looked super physical. Not just that, but how athletic he looks at center. So if you're telling me that he's a lot better than Cade Mays and he wins out this job, okay, you got 2 quality centers that can start for you. So if obviously you have Corb's injuries, back-to-back seasons of ACL tears. So that's another reason why I wanted Cade Mays to start because that kind of scares me. Now, I've heard I believe Mike K mentioned this and a few other people on Twitter mentioned this. And I like this idea, but I don't because of Corb's injuries. So let's just say Austin Corbett wins this job, right? And you feel comfortable with the guy behind Cade Mays. Can you find a team that is in need of a starting center player that has depth at inside linebacker? And that might be a win-win for us because Josie Jewell's gone. He may come back. He may eventually come back, but right now he's not a part of the team. Concussions, dude. And when after you had your first concussion, you got another one. They're so hard to predict how long it takes for you to recover. And it's been 7 months since he had his concussion. So now you have Trevin Wallace and you have Christian Roseboom. And behind that, you have JJ Weaver, the 6-finger hand guy out of Kentucky. You got a couple other guys, and are you comfortable with them? At least they still, I'm sure they're going to. You still need to find depth at that position because if Trevin goes down, which he had a game or two where he did go down last season, or you have Roseboom that goes down for a game, or God forbid he's out, or one of them is out for the season, that's a big drop off from starter to depth, in my opinion. So I can see how that would make sense where you have the center position or one of the receivers and making a player for player trade because the inside linebackers that are on the market right now, I don't want them. I'm not. I mean, the only one that was like semi interesting was Eric Kendricks from Minnesota. I'm okay. Maybe depth, but I don't know how much he wants. I I feel like if you want a decent quality inside linebacker, you have to make a trade. But this is going to be something that the Panthers, in my opinion, is going to be one of their top priorities next offseason, inside linebacker. Now, who knows? Christian Roseboom wasn't a bum for the Rams. He had tons of tackles. He was a special teams ace. But can he be a starting caliber inside linebacker for a full season? We'll see. Can Trevin Wallace make that next step? Trevin Wallace is was been playing pretty physical. He gave Chuba Hubbard a nice little goose egg on his head. So I like uh, I like to see it. I like seeing my linebacker being physical like that. And that brings me to the point where I just like how Dave Canales has allowed this team to just play football, but be smart, but just play football. Um, but we'll see. I do think that the center position is a possibility for them to, depending on who loses that competition, possibly being traded for an inside linebacker position. Because let's talk about it. We'll talk about it in a second. We'll talk about some other positions that maybe they could trade for too in just a second. Okay, so the other competition I'm really watching and looking at as well is the Ryan Fitzgerald versus Matthew Wright. So Matthew Wright, we signed from, he played for the Tennessee Titans, I believe, last season, and then we signed undrafted free agent Ryan Fitzgerald from, I believe, Florida State. So, and no one has really been taking the job. No, they've just kind of marrying each other. I think they have almost the exact same stats as far as field goals made. Now, I know that Joe Person tweeted out earlier that I believe it was Ryan Fitzgerald that was 2 of 5 at the for field goals, but that was for the skinny post. If it was a regular um, season goal post, he would have made it. I'm okay with that. You know, I I'm not too. I don't. I mean, you want them to make the skinny post, but if you're telling me it was good, it would have been good in a regular game, then count it as a goal, dude. Um, but no one's really taking this job. I really honestly felt pretty comfortable and was pretty confident that I thought that Ryan Fitzgerald would go out and take this job. He was, I think, from what I remember, second or third best kicker in the college football last year. He was extremely consistent, really good from 50 plus yards. I think he was like 93% field goal percentage rate and was 100% with extra points. But again, I don't know what the stats would be if it was a just a regular season goalpost. I don't know. But from what I'm hearing from reports is there's no one that's really winning this job right now. They're both this right at the same level right now. Now, the other position I was talking about was that we could possibly use the center that would lose that competition for as a trade partner could be cornerback. But how Shamar Bartholomew and Corey Thornton have been playing, I'm starting to think that we're okay at corner depth. Again, this is just from what I'm hearing. I'm not seeing the reps, just the consistent reps going on. But Shamar Bartholomew has been playing, from what I've heard, lights out since Mike Jackson and JC Horn have been out. And I really was concerned about corner depth. I thought that was our weak link. It looks like it's just more to me. It's more so inside linebacker. I mean, again, and you don't know until like the lights are on, the pads are on, and game time. People can look really good during training camp and lay an egg during preseason or regular season. But if you're telling me that this guy is stepping up and he's at least not going to lose you the football game like the other corners did last season when JC Horn was out and Mike Jackson was out, then I'm okay with us not going after another corner. Corey Thornton has made some plays too. He hasn't been looking like he looks like he belongs out there too. So I am greatly pleased with how the cornerback depth has been looking. I haven't heard too much about the offensive lineman and defense lineman, to be honest with you. I really haven't. That's something I want the beat writers to talk more about. I want to see how, is Pat Jones getting to the quarterback? Is Princely getting there? Like, how does Nick look? I've heard like very very brief uh, comments about it, but I haven't seen that much. I really haven't seen any clips about it besides pictures. So I would like a little bit more offensive line versus defensive line analysis from them, and also video clips of how the 1v1 reps are going. But again, I'm really happy about the corner depth since JC Horn and Mike Jackson been out the last couple of days during training camp, that they've stepped up. Now, to me, the biggest question with training camp right now is or not, with this season in general, is the defense. This defense, again, if it can stay average, if it can be average, if it can, helps, don't let the other team average 5.5, 6 yards per carry, please. Right? And I think when you add when you have Ashawn Robinson at the line, you have Trayvon Warren at the line, you have Derek Brown, you have Bobby Brown the third. They should be at least average. Now, what's I want to see how Evero puts it together. And I think he can. And I think you will see the defense get better throughout the season. But the first 4, 5 games, I'm really interested to see how they perform and execute as a group, because there are a lot of not a lot of new players in the system. Bobby Brown is new. Travell Wharton is new. You have Patrick Jones that's new. You have Princely and Scorton you just drafted. You have Lathan Ramson that you just drafted. You have Trayvon Morig that you just picked up. There's a lot of new players on this defense, and there should be, because our defense was dog shit last year. They're horrible. There should be a lot of new faces, but can the players as a team, all those quality upgrades, can they play together in Evero's scheme and execute as a group? That's what I'm curious about, because if they can execute as a group and they can be average and stop the run, not allow the big plays, you're giving Bryce Young. But we should be winning elite. In my opinion, we should be winning the division. If Bryce Young can play the way he was playing last offseason, you got XL that continues to develop and play as well. You have T Mac. You have, obviously, the offensive line is back. You have additions of Rico Dottle, and you have Chuba Hubbard, obviously. The offense should be cooking. They should be getting. I think they'll continue to improve throughout the season as well. And then you have the defense at least being average. We should win the division. The Bucks are going to be the biggest threat. The Falcons, unless Penix has just a crazy sophomore season, this is pretty much his rookie season. Last year, he played 3 games, and he was okay those 3 games. And the Falcons' defense was just as bad as our defense. And they've made a lot of different moves like we have. Jalen Walker and who's the other one? The guy from Tennessee. He was my favorite edge out of the group, but I can't remember his name. James something Jr. I can't remember his name. But they have a lot of additions on that defense. So we'll see if they can put it together, because every teams can surprise you. But to me, it's going to be between us and the Bucks. I really believe that. So I'm really excited about this season. I'm excited to see How we, can we come out of the gate playing well? We'll see. We'll see. There's still a lot to be left to be seen, and a lot of questions to be answered. But I do think, again, our floor for wins is going to be 7, and our ceiling is going to be 11 or 12. So if we lose less than 7 games, it's a failed season, in my opinion. So we got FanFest coming up. They're going to be in full pads. The players, you got fans out there, so the players are going to give a little extra out there. Hopefully, the players stay safe. There's no injuries, but I'm excited to see how that practice goes. We'll actually be able to see a practice. They're not going to go into any crazy depth uh, plays because people are going to be recording, right? They're not going to do it, but it'll be fun to see all the new faces out there, both the newly drafted players and the newly acquired players we got in the off season, all the free agents. So it'll be good to see everybody. So I'm out. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, hit a like button, hit the notification bell so that way you don't miss any updated content. I really appreciate you guys watching the videos. I want you to be able to engage with you guys. I go live. I'm a very small Panther podcaster, but I love doing this. I want to be able to get enough people to where I can engage with you guys daily, or every time I go live. So thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.